All right.
Yep.
Let's jump into it.
Sploosh.
Sploosh. All right, Tim. We're going to get into maps. Fishing
Hell
maps.
Hell yeah.
Um,
One of the best tools you can have out there, people. Get you some fishing maps.
yeah, dude. You want to go off on it for a little bit here at the beginning?
I mean, I'll just say that it's very important. And I got my start trying to figure out. So I'll say when I was younger, I did mostly sight fishing. I had a small 3-bench Lund. I've talked about it before on the show. But I just kind of went around and I was fishing the shallows for bass because that's all I knew how to do. All I knew was shallows because I didn't know what deep water was like. Fishing in the deep water was just a mystery to me. I had no idea what I was doing out there.
Sure.
I tried trolling a couple times. I caught some northerns here and there.
In that Lund?
And that was, yeah. But that was just like driving with the boat, like going as slow as I could, just like pulling something behind. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just doing it.
Yeah. Oh, but, no. Yeah. You're just doing that scrappy,
like,
young kid shit you're trying to do. That was
exactly.
That was one of those little red Lunds with the, what's it called when the motor's just hanging out the back, right? You didn't have a console.
The tiller. Yeah. The tiller motor on the back. Yeah. It's on the back and you just got the little handle and you turn it. Dude, those turn on a dime. I'm out there just doing donuts in the middle, like because all the weights in all the weights in the back, you can just turn it sideways and you're right there.
Right.
Yeah, it was fun.
Fucking sweet donuts.
But I used to always get made fun of too because I'm a bigger guy and I'd be sitting in the back and they were just like, when you go in, full bore. It's like you in the back with the motor is like the only thing that's touching the water. The rest of the boat is like slightly.
That's efficient, dude.
Hell yeah, just going. But so yeah, I would troll sometimes and I would catch some like baby northerns and stuff. And just in case anybody out there is wondering, that is not an accomplishment. If you trolled and you caught a couple of northerns with like a crankbait that you were pulling or a spoon you were pulling, I'm sorry to tell you, but you did not accomplish much. You were able to get a fish to bite on, and it's the northern, and the northerns are aggressive, and they just bite shit that moves. You didn't do anything. They'll chase that thing down from random spots.
They just bite anything that moves.
They will do it. It doesn't really matter where you're at. You don't need to be close to the fish like some of the other ones. Some of you just get one that's in the right move. It will run from where it's at. It'll just be like shit and then take off and that's it.
And it'll chase you, right? That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, so the fish is not swimming right where your bait is. It will swim for a little ways. If it sees something that it wants, and it thinks it has an easy meal, it'll chase it down.
Right.
They seem to be almost like angry about it too. like
expression when they come back up to the boat, you can just see it in the fucking
face. In my head, they always have personalities, and I'm sure it's nothing like it. But like as a crankbait passes by at a higher rate of speed, I almost feel like some of the northerns are just like, "Oh no, you didn't," and then it's just like it just sees it running, and it's just like, "You think you're just gonna swim fast on the surface past me?" No.
Nah, I don't play like that, motherfucker.
I'll chase you down. I'm gonna bite your ass. just.
So how does this play into the maps? Like, because I mean, you said you were going shallow all the time. So how do the maps play into that?
So when I started, I had no idea like where I was really in the water. It was always like I'm looking at shore and stuff. And I knew where stuff kind of dropped off because I could see like, all right, here's a drop off, there's a drop off.
No, because you're sight fishing, and when you're sight fishing in clear water, that's what you're saying. So you can see 100%. The kind of where it goes from. Well, I can see the bottom of the lake to that sinks down into deep blue.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, okay. And I feel it. And my whole childhood when I was fishing, my dad was the kind of guy that would drive he would drive from the middle of the lake and then he'd go in towards shore. And we would just drive really slowly towards shore. Mm-hmm. And when we could see the weeds, like the tippy tops of the weeds, was when we would stop and drop anchor. That's how he told me how you fish, which isn't wrong, but it's also not right.
Right. Yeah.
You could be in a stretch where there's not a good spot. And every once in a while we'd find a spot and he'd be like, that's a good spot. Remember, it's between that tree that has no leaves and that other tree over there that has like that weird Y. We got to have those two, you know? And that's all it would be. And when you get lake maps, you're not doing that whole like guessing, trying a different spot each day. You're able to see where stuff is. So when you get the lake maps, you're able to see the contours, you're able to figure it out. And then when you have like a GPS setup, you're able to see like where you are, like exactly where it starts to drop off. You know, if you're at the top of the drop off versus the middle of the drop off or the bottom of the drop off, like depth finder is necessary, and it tells you a lot of stuff, but you can still fish with just the GPS. I know I unlocked a couple of spots where I saw where it dropped off deeper, and I knew where the shallow spots were. And I had caught a couple of muskies before I ever had a depth finder because I knew where the spots dropped off.
Just from reading maps.
100%.
Nice.
And so I got my start. We'll talk about like the navionics. I'm sure we'll get into it and stuff.
Yeah, we'll get into some stuff, but I'm going to I'm going to go back to like physical print even here before we get too deep. What you got?
Well, so we can get into like the physical print because that's how I would look at those kind of maps too. That was how, how I first started.
Oh, nice.
Where you would have an idea, you'd be able to look at like where it went from like deeper water to shallow water. So I knew the different shallows to the fish, the different areas that made sense to fish in shallow water. So I was still kind of dissecting which shallows would be better than other shallows. So, I wasn't completely going into it blind, just fishing every shallow water there was out there.
Oh, sure.
But what I first got was this.
Oh, damn.
This is actually made by Lowrance, and it's the H2O. What is it called? The Finder H2O.
Okay.
So this is a GPS. This is like maps if you're like a hiker or whatever.
Oh.
So this is like 100% just a GPS that it's made for, but because it's made by Lowrance, you can put in the lake map chip.
And it reads it?
And
sick, dude.
Yeah.
So it's literally a hiking map. Like you buy this thing like tradition, or it's marketed even, right? Towards somebody who's going hiking.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause that's what this one is. That's what it was made for.
That is fucking cool.
Yeah.
So is it preloaded, or is the hiking map a chip and then you have to pop it out?
No. So the lake map is a chip that has preloaded. Yep. So it takes 2 AA batteries, which I had charging for, but underneath the batteries is my Lake Master. That's a lake map chip right there.
It's just an SD card, right? Loaded up.
Yep.
But you had to buy it from Lowrance and
100. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, dude, I didn't have I got this before I had a legit boat. I probably should have got a depth finder, but I got the weird thing is I got this for Christmas one year.
Okay.
My parents didn't explain to me that this could take a lake map chip. I was like, "Oh, thank you for this GPS. I hike all the time
because I'm such a hiker. You look at my boots. Look at these Eddie Bauer boots I'm not wearing."
I returned this to Best Buy.
Oh,
looked around, found this, and I was like, "This takes a lake map chip." Bought the same thing, not knowing it was what they had got me. And then I'm like, yeah, I actually returned that and I got this one. And they're like, that's the same thing we got you. And I'm like, oh, sorry. Thank you.
That's awesome, dude. So how did you find out it took the lake map chip then?
Oh, just by doing research. I was trying to look into them, and I don't know if I was just, I've done some stupid shit.
Oh, it wasn't okay, I misunderstood the story then that I assumed you returned it, then went to Best Buy, or you turned around with that Best Buy money and went and looked and then bought it the same second.
Yeah, dude. It wasn't like the same day. I returned that and then I looked around at some stuff.
Yeah, did some research.
And then I saw that and I was like, it takes a lake map chip. Yeah. So I don't think it was like the same day, but I definitely had that Best Buy money.
Yeah.
And that's how I ended up, because I'm like, what can I buy with this? And I started looking.
Yeah.
And then I seen, oh, that one's made by Lowrance. And then,
right. And you can put the lake map chip in it. Yeah.
I don't know why I didn't catch it when my parents got it, but that's what happened.
that's what happens sometimes.
That's exactly what happened.
I love that. So let's jump back to the physical stuff unless you want.
Yeah, for sure.
More, because, dude.
No, let's do it, because physical maps are important too.
And they're fucking rad. Like I like maps. Yeah. I just like maps in general. I think maps are fucking really cool looking. But
yeah,
lake maps are so cool. Those contour lines in there. The fact that they're blue. I mean, yeah, look at a globe. You know, it's mostly blue, but that's like a global one. When you get down into like other maps, they're shades of, they're earth colors, right? They're shades of brown and they're shades of yellow and they're shades of, gray or whatever it might be. But this is a blue map surrounded by those other colors. And I don't know, there's something about that contrast that's just so cool to me. I just wanted to be like, lake maps are just fucking cool looking, dude. So
they're very cool looking. They make like shirts and stuff that have like the lake map contour lines on them, and I think it makes a perfect design for like a cool shirt.
Yeah I can totally see that. Actually, after looking at these, I started to have some ideas with lake contour maps go through my head. I was like, oh, I should fucking make that. Like, I should figure out. It was a lot of design stuff going through my head, being graphic design.
I'll talk to you off pod. But there was a couple of ideas I shot to you, and I don't know if you understood my ideas, because like when I said them, I was like, I don't know. I see how my idea can be taken in like 7 different ways. Mm-hmm. And off pod, I'll tell you.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. Yep, we'll talk about it after to not just get hung up on design talk on maps. But anyways,
exactly.
Okay, so I'm gonna go to the physical ones. I have a little bit of history here, but we'll see if it works its way in here and how it works its way in. But when I looked up lake maps, right, I was out there trying to do my research on here for the podcast, and I basically found fishing hotspots registered trademark and sportsman connection.
Yes.
No S. So you're familiar with both of these, the way you say that?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Dude, these are so good. Like these physical printed materials, they look so cool. Yeah. I haven't held one, and I don't even know if I've ever held one, but like the fishing hotspots, it was cool how they were just so small and they're like laminated or they're like printed on something that's really like it says waterproof. Yeah. And they're just like, you fold them up and bada bing, bada boom.
Right.
You bring it with
the fishing hotspots is cool because that one is literally why it's called that. It's more of a, here's where you should try for this, here's where you should try for that kind of. Yeah. The fishing hotspots. There were so,
because it has the contour map that we're talking about still. Like it has your traditional lake map with the contour lines that show the depths and everything like that. But then there's like a lot of different information, and that's what you're talking about?
Yeah. Yeah, the different information that they have, because they have more information in that other one you were talking about too, but it's not the same as the hotspots. The hotspots has a little bit more, but the hotspots have less lakes that they cover too.
Okay.
That other one covers, like, you can go get books based off of counties, and it'll show like all the decent sized lakes in that county.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's crazy, dude. So, before we jump off the hotspots ones, when you say they have more information in like the hotspots, they like literally have hotspots on the lake.
Yes, that's what I was. Yeah, I might not have like.
No,
pointed that
explain
out.
That.
Yeah, I might not have said that properly, but that's what I was meaning when I'm like, it's literally in the name. It's hotspots map.
Yeah,
it's showing you the hot spots to fish.
Right.
Or where they know there's hot spots. And when we get into the lake map, don't let me forget that I can explain too that hotspots are where they're known or where they think they'll be, I can hit you with a little bit of information where I got the new hummingbird chip.
Okay.
And
yeah,
that one kind of has the same thing.
Later.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sick. Yeah. Once we get into chips, then we'll get into that then, because that was the cool thing about hotspots. Was that they had hotspots and they had the species of fish, and so they would point out. Like, I didn't have one physically in my hand, but like that's how I understood it, is like, there's these species on this lake and there's hotspots here, and these are like, this is a good crappie spot and this is a good walleye spot or whatever.
Yes.
And like, it laid it out, but it was all on that contour map, so you still had that physical contour map to like work with too. Yeah, it was cool.
And it's so cool to have. So that's the first thing I go to every time I'm looking at a new lake, or every time I'm even contemplating a lake. When I'm thinking about going and fishing a new lake, or when it came to ice fishing and stuff, rest in peace. The ice fishing, I would be like, should I go to this lake or that lake? And I'm like, all right, let me take a peek at the structure. Let me take a peek at what these maps are talking about with the fish, and then I also pull up, this isn't maps, but then I also go to like the DNR, and I start seeing like what they've netted and all that other shit, where I start seeing numbers, and I'm just like, okay, what's it looks like this fish is a little bit, or that lake is a little bit hotter with the species I'm trying to go for. And that's one of the things that's nice in those lake maps too, because you can go those lake maps. Like, I know of hotspots, but I don't know hotspots that well, because they're not as accessible, because they'll have less lakes. So I haven't looked at all of those.
Yep.
But that Sportsman one I look at a lot. So, okay. Don't hate me. Don't hate me. It's a thing you can do too. I don't know if it's illegal. I don't think it's illegal. I go to Fleet Farm.
Man. Throw it out there.
Yeah. I go to Fleet Farm and they have those books.
Yeah.
And I don't buy the books. I just open them up and I look at them.
You just read them while you're there.
I just look at the library. New lakes. Yeah. And I knew I go to lakes or whatever. And sometimes I'll be like looking at them and I see a lake that I'm going to go to, and it's like, try the north side for like this fish. And then I take my phone and I take a picture of that tip.
Yeah, that part maybe you're going to just left out, but
It's, I mean, I have it in my memory. Most of you people out there have good memories and they already have it there. I'm just saying, like, if I see that tip, I'm just like, oh, don't forget that,
Right.
I could have taken out my notepad and just been like, try.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was going to say. Like, what's the difference though between taking a photo and writing it down?
Yeah.
There's not really. But where you're going with all that is the part that I was like, oh yeah, and I like, if you're watching the visual one, if you're watching this, the video version of the podcast, I was like, yeah, because that is the cool thing. Is yes, you go out and you do your research and you do your, you do more multiple researches, but you're using these lake maps as a guide too, and that's what I loved about them. Is like, they have these mini guides in there. Like you said, you go to the DNR and you see what they netted and stuff like that. It's like both of these, they have that information in some of them, or you can see what they've netted or what's been trending in that area. These are written by pros like in the area, and that's why they know where the hotspots are. Is because they got locals out there giving them information and fucking getting it published, and it's like that's cool. That's really cool. You got, it's like a little mini guide, and I mean guide like fishing guide, like having a local knowledge base right there on the map. It's fucking sweet.
Yeah, it is. It's sick. And like you said, it's not for all the lakes, but some of them do have like the DNR stats and stuff. And then other ones will just have, somebody's been out on that lake and they tell you straight up. It'll be like, there's an abundance of this type of fish, even though they're not known for being the biggest. Like, you can catch a lot of them. So you're like, all right, that's good to know. Or some of the other ones too, where they'll just be like, They're known for having above average size this, but they're kind of sparse. So you're like, all right, well, if I want to try to catch a big one and I want to just put in the work, that's a good lake to try to go do that, whatever it happens to be. And then again, not with every single lake. Some of the lakes, they almost have no information for. It's like, here's your depth contours. It's kind of small. Not a lot of people fish this lake, but if you wanted to see it, we got you. If you want to go and try to fish it, here's what it looks like. And then Country Joe down the road said, there's fish in there. And that's how we got So yeah, dude, that's my first go-to all the time is pull up lake maps. Sometimes they're hard to find on the internet.
Yeah.
But places like Fleet Farms and Shield always has them, and they're not that expensive. Like, if you live in a certain area, if you fish a lot, like in the county you're in and the surrounding counties, go and get you that book. If you live in the metro, they have one that's like I don't know if they break it down by like West and East Metro or if it's just the metro.
Right. I kind of missed that, but definitely Sportsman Connection had multiple regions of the state, like specifically just to Minnesota is where I went. There are other places, but to the Minnesota one. Yeah, they had specific regions of the state. And so when you were getting one book, you're getting a fucking thick book, like hundreds of pages, spiral bound. And it's not one county. We're talking 5, 6, 10, maybe even, it was big.
It depends on the area. Because some of the counties don't have as many lakes in them.
Right.
Or like as many lakes that are noteworthy. I know they have one, too. Well, at least one that are like, best lakes. I don't know if it's like best walleye lakes. I think some of them are broken down by like species.
Yes.
But it's like best walleye lakes.
So I found one specifically with Sportsman that was a muskie one. Like they specifically had the Muskie Hunters edition basically of it. So you can get the big one. You can get like the West Metro fucking Sportsman's Connect book, but you could also get the West Metro Muskie Hunters edition of it. It's like, whoa, holy shit.
Yeah, if you go and check out that West Metro Muskie Hunters, Shamina's on that list.
Oh, is it?
There, it's in that book.
Nice.
Yeah, I know. It's dope when you see your lake and you're just like, hell yeah, bro. I made it. I made it.
I made it. Yeah. That's awesome, dude. I love it. So for the Sportsman's one, because that's the one you're more familiar with, they do have sorry, what were you gonna?
Oh, no, I was just saying
Oh yeah. So that's the one that you said that you're more familiar with. They have ebook editions now. So you can get it on your fucking iPad. Like you can go and just buy this version.
I didn't know that. I gotta go and
yeah.
I gotta go and get them. Yeah, because I should say too, they're not that expensive. So if you have the money, go and get them. The reason I did that back in the day was like I just didn't have a lot of extra cash, and now it's not like, I mean, it's like $40 I think for a book, and you're getting like 50 lakes,
a stack of lakes. Yeah.
So it's not bad. There's no reason to not go and purchase it.
Yeah, especially with all the work that they're putting in, like you said. But no, I mean, I get it, right? Like that's as you're coming up, and it's also if you're not traveling a lot,
right?
And you're just like you're going to this lake one time, and you're going to check it out. Like, I mean,
I should preface too. I made that sound like I sometimes say poor. I mean frugal. It's like I've never been like broke or really hurting for money, but it's been like where I'm going to go spend 40 for that. And I'm like, I could just take a peek at the lake map that I'm going to. Right. And then that $40 could get me, that's like
half of the grocery list for next week,
I mean, that's like 8 lures if I spend right, maybe 7.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Not even taking it back to the groceries. You're just like, nah, what I'm getting here while I'm in Fleet Farm.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
For sure. But yeah. So you can get them. They have a tablet version. Also, I didn't know this. You can if you go to the website, at least if you go like Sportman Connection like directly, you can get the whole collection of them. So like the Minnesota collection was on there. You could get the printed one, which I'm like, damn, that's a lot of books.
The whole collection. Damn.
Yeah, they have a discount on it. They like tell you the value of it, of like the 6 or 8 books or whatever it is. And then they, they slash it and say, but if you buy them all, you get them for this. They even did that with the e-book edition. So like, you can buy each one individually.
Yeah.
On, iTunes or wherever it is, or the App Store, whatever the hell it's sold on.
Mm-hmm.
But then you can also get the whole collection on your tab too.
So it doesn't break it down, and it doesn't give you the same information that like the Sportsman's does. So that's also very nice to have when you're trying to look at new lakes and stuff. It gives you that information, and it gives you some tips, and it tell you like this is worth fishing or whatever too. But if you're trying to just look at the maps, Navionics is like a monthly fee, and you have access to every lake. Like in Minnesota, I can zoom in and I can scroll over.
And this is on your phone?
Yes.
Okay.
The Navionics app. So I don't know if you had a plan on when to bring it up. I wasn't
really this is a perfectly good time, because we're going from like books, printed books, ebooks. Yeah. And now you're going into like, hey, I mean, you can get them electronically, as a book, but I'm talking about like, okay, we're getting into electronics. So okay, Navionics is an app.
I mean, this thing back in the day, I think this was like
you're holding
$300. Yes, 100%. Yes. Yep. I'm trying not to say 100% so much. Oh, it's bugging me. As I keep saying it, I'm just like, who am I, Bert Kreischer? 100%. Anyways, this was like, I want to say it was like $250, and then the lake map chip was like another $100.
Oh, sure. Damn.
And that was just to be able to walk around and look at the lake maps in different areas and like scan. I could open it up and I could zoom out and I can move over and I could find lakes and stuff. I think the Navionics app is like, I don't know if it's like $30 a month or like $30 annually. I forget. I have it and it just renews or whatever.
Yeah, so I know. Once you get one that you're like in on, you just keep it going.
Yeah. Because I like to have it, because the beauty with having it on my phone is that I'll just be driving by a lake that I'm unfamiliar with, and I'm just like, damn, look at that lake. I bet it's sweet. And I go, oh shit, pull up the app, and then it'll show on GPS that I'm near it. So I'll just like swipe over a little bit. There it is. And I start looking at the map. I'm like, oh, fucking
nice.
Look at that. Do you know what it's like for a fisherman like me? It's like seeing a pretty lady and you're just like, I wonder what's underneath that dress. And I just get to go, oh, fuck, look at that. I get to see exactly. Just looking at like underwater humps, and I'm like, oh, look at you.
Hiding that one right there.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, I knew you were hiding something underneath that water. Ooh, look at you. But no, so that Navionics, I've had that for a while, because that's actually what I had when we went up to that Voyageurs National Park.
Oh, yeah, dude. That was sick. Yeah. Now I remember the story. Like,
yeah. So when we went up to Voyageurs National Park, without that, we would have been fucked, dude. Because
totally fucked.
So first, there's buoys that show you where you're supposed to drive and stuff.
Yeah.
But we had driven all
just
the
another
way
use
out.
case scenario before you even start to tell the story, like of why lake maps are good, and if you're on water, like, why these are useful, right? I didn't say we were going to just stick to like the basics of maps, of lake maps.
Right.
We're going all over, baby. This is the Real AF TV podcast.
Yeah. We're just talking about lakes and how we like lake maps, and just giving you some examples of like what you can do with lake maps and why it is important. You know, it's just a topic. It's not, we're going to teach you everything about them.
Yeah. No.
But we're going to learn you some stuff. So here's the thing. When you were on the Navionics, it actually showed you like the different green and red buoys because I forget which one's right and which one's left.
Oh, right.
But it showed you on the GPS like where the buoys were and like where you were. So you could basically drive blind, which is almost what we did.
Yeah, dude, when we went to see the Mayweather McGregor fight. Yeah. Because we were out in the we were fucking out in the woods.
We drove
dude.
for a while.
Like we used those lakes like roads, and we were out in the woods to find a spot to camp.
Yeah. So we had a houseboat, which is a huge help with the lake maps to give you the confidence to be able to drive that houseboat and stuff.
Oh, I never
because
thought
it's
of that.
a big houseboat and it's deep.
Yeah.
And there's rocks all over the place. That's why there's the buoys and stuff. If you drive in the wrong spot, you're going to fuck that boat up and you're going to cause some serious damage. And I was the captain of the boat, so I was liable for like damages and stuff. So I was kind of stressed out. So having that lake map on me and be able to like use the GPS and know where we are was a huge help.
Yeah, I bet.
So we drove all the way out there with the houseboat that was pulling the pontoon boat. And then when we got all the way out there, we took the pontoon boat and drove back in the rain. And we had that one spotlight and we're just, going full bore. Yeah, in the dark, and full bore is only like 10 miles an hour on that pontoon boat. It's only like 5 miles an hour on that houseboat. Those things do not move fast.
No, that thing was so slow.
But there was a couple of spots too that were just like literally like opening in like a sheer rock wall. Like that's where you had to go through. Like if you wouldn't have had GPS, you wouldn't have made it through. You would have just came up to a wall and been like, "Oh no, where do I go?"
Because in the dark, in a national park.
Yeah.
In the rain, there was no natural light.
No, not at all. There was no moon that night or something.
No,
because it was raining.
It was raining.
It was raining. Yeah, it was overcast. So it was
too overcast. As hell. No way moonlight was getting through.
It was so dark. So we drove all the way back into that bar. And then we spent some time there. And then when we were done there, we had to go back, drive out, and then have to find the boat. Like at least when we got close to shore, we could see the lights and we're like, here's the shore. We had to go find the houseboat just in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. And did you have it marked on Navionics then?
I think I did have it marked. That's why it was pretty easy to get back to. Or not, I don't think I had it marked, but it records your trail.
Oh, there's a line. Yeah, so so you already had a it was almost like literally the breadcrumbs, right? Or not?
Yeah, we literally just had to. The breadcrumbs. Pretty much, we just had to follow the same path back.
Right.
So we drove all the way in and then went back out. But that was a huge help, knowing exactly where we were and
the depths and the like each side of the buoys and just the amount of detail in those maps that like really got us through that night.
Totally. Yeah, it would have been a nightmare. I don't think without that map, I don't think we would have been able to go back in. And definitely without that map, I would have been shitting my pants most of the time. I just would have been like,
right.
I probably would have wrote it everywhere like a crazy person, like red, right, left, green, like everywhere, just being like, make sure I know, don't forget it. Make sure you keep looking at the buoys. That one needs to be over there. That one needs to be over there.
Right.
Okay. All right, we're good. Just keep driving.
Just keep driving.
But yeah, but that Navionics lake map is, again, like I said, it doesn't tell you anything. It doesn't give you tips. It doesn't say stuff. It does have some different markers of like where there's like some fish and different stuff. I should say I have seen some stuff like that where there's like a little marker and you click on it and it's like somebody went in and put on a little marker where it's just like, this spot, this bay, like it said, I don't remember if it said that it was actually like people fish for this here, but it was like a shallow rocky bay, kind of shit like that, where it kind of gave you like information on the lake.
Okay.
So you kind of like, okay, I know a little bit about that, or like where there's the weeds, or they'll have a spot marked, which is very helpful too in a new lake, where it'll show you like a rock, like an underground rock or like underwater rock. Because I've been on some new lakes where they do not mark their shit. I thought they had to. I thought it was like a rule.
Oh,
apparently not. I guess you could just be like, it doesn't matter.
We're not liable. It's a fucking public water.
I
right?
was on one lake one time where there was 2 points, and then there was water between them. No marker whatsoever in my bass boat, so it's barely down.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm driving through, and the motor hits the ground because there's almost no water there.
Holy shit!
And there's no marker. There's 2 points and water in between them. You would assume that if you stay in the middle of the two, that where there's no markers, that you'd be fine. Nope. Almost no water.
Holy shit.
It's just like, how the fuck do you people not have this marked?
Whoa.
How is this not like a no wake zone or some shit?
Yeah.
I didn't get it. Yeah. So I have some fear over lakes like that.
Right.
And it was after that moment when we went on the houseboat. So I'm like, fuck, you never know, dude. Sometimes there's just no water in places.
Makes it worse. Yeah. So with Navionics, it sounds like there's kind of like a community feed in it. Do you think that it's people who subscribe to Navionics that are putting things on there? Or do you think these are like people who run Navionics or have like special admin access or whatever you want to say?
I think you have to be an admin. I don't know if you have the ability to like throw stuff their way and then they can put it on. But sure. I didn't have the power to edit anything.
Yeah. Okay. You can just use it and look at it and see those notes or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. So but they're not like the fishing hotspots where it's throwing you a bone and saying like, hey, here's where the crappies usually are.
Right. Exactly. That's what I was saying. I'm not trying to like steer anybody away from those sportsman's one because those have valuable information and the hotspots ones are, those have more information than the sportsman's, but the hotspots ones are like $25 and it's a map of just one lake.
Yeah.
So
everything I saw was very much like this is one spot. Map. So one mini map with a bunch of info folded up, tackle bag it.
Yep. I've seen that. I've seen bigger maps too. I have seen hotspots because you get them in the same spots. You can like when you go to Shields or Fleet Farm, they have them in the same like little rack of like here's all the maps. Sometimes in like Shields they'll have them almost like on. You can get them at Walmart. Walmart has them almost like not an end cap, but like a hanger place, like towards the end of the aisle. It's just like here's a line of magazines.
Like where you used to put a punch card back in the day.
Yeah.
That worked, right?
Like a thing like that. Yep. Yeah. So it's just some shit that they have hanging there where they'll just have like, basically wherever you're at. It's not like Shields or Fleet Farm that understand. I keep throwing those two out. I'm sure they have them at Cabela's or whatever sports outlet you have or whatever. But
local bait shops.
Exactly. But those ones, and maybe like the local bait shops too, because they're not as big. So to be able to carry the inventory where like Walmart and them, a lot of times what I've seen is that they have it like local to you,
right?
Like how they break it down, like those, the counties around you, like that's what you're able to find at your Walmart. But if you go to the bigger stores, they have everything because they understand as outdoorsmen that we're traveling to where we want to go to, not, well, let's see what we could fish for.
Right.
Yeah. Which is what you're getting at Walmart sometimes.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense. That totally makes sense. So shop around basically.
Shop around.
Before we get into like the bigger stuff, did you know that the Minnesota DNR, and I know it's a lot of Minnesota talk here, but we're just talking about what we know. Definitely listening outside the state, use this and just extrapolate it to your area because there's a very good chance that's going to ring true. But did you know that the DNR has the Lake Finder and on there they have contour maps? They're just free.
Oh, no.
You just go look it up.
I didn't know they had contour maps on there.
Yeah, they only look to be about 10 feet. Which we'll get into when we get into the chip stuff. They say that they scan for 5, but it was like, I only ever saw 15. It was like 10, 15, 20. And then everywhere else, it would be like 10, 20, 30, 40. So
you miss a lot of
it is what it is.
When it's
free.
Right. Exactly. It's free.
Lots of species info, public launch areas. It's real basic. It's free, but it's just out there. Minnesota DNR Lake Finder.
Yeah. It depends on, the different, they'll have less detailed stuff for some of the lesser known lakes and like the sportsmen and stuff. And the same on Navionics, but like the big time lakes are 1 foot increments. So the detail is so much better.
Holy shit, dude.
Yeah. That's the same thing with my, the lake map, the Hummingbird chip.
Yeah.
Yep. This one too. Some of them. I think this one, the older one.
Your Lorentz there?
I think I had 2 foot increments on a lot of stuff. I haven't used that one in a long time. I'll still bring that one out when I ice fish.
Oh, okay.
Because that's a nice one to have,
because it just fits in your pocket and you just.
Yeah, and you don't have to worry about like dropping your cell phone down the hole. I'd much rather drop that thing down the hole.
Right. The thing you've had for years. You're like, oh, it's kind of around its course.
Yeah, I mean, the lake map chip in there is so obsolete that when I bought a Lowrance unit, I had to buy a new lake map chip because it wouldn't take this one.
Oh shit!
They're both Lowrance, but
right?
I can't use this lake map chip on
your
my Lowrance unit, which was the old unit
mounted up to your mini boat, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That one's mounted. Yep.
Yeah. So let's start talking chips. Let's get more into chips because I found the Hummingbird Lake Master.
Yeah.
And these things are just SD cards loaded up, which is like not to say that that's nothing, but it's a whole shitload of data. You just got to get the chip and pop it in.
Lake Master, it's made for Hummingbird, but Lake Master is the company that makes them. Like that's the same Lake Master that makes that chip, the same Lake Master that makes my other Lowrance one.
Oh, so these guys are the chips, and then they're configuring them specially. Like Hummingbird probably works directly with Lake Master and says, "Hey, make the Lake Master or make the Hummingbird version of your stuff, brand it, and this is what we want to see, and this is what we okay."
Yeah, because it has to be able to use the buttons, and be able to scroll through and do stuff, and it has. This Lake Master chip did bring a new little drop down menu too, where that was a little bit of a hassle, which it wasn't that big of a deal. But I don't know if you remember me talking to you about it a little bit, but I had to do an update. But to do an update, I had to load the update onto an SD card and then put the SD card in, and it just automatically updated. But for whatever reason, it didn't want to take a big SD card. I had to find a small SD card, and I'm like, who has a small SD card anymore?
What?
Yeah, it was I don't know if it was just an older one. It didn't want to see, a 250 or
yeah,
the big
I remember
SD
this.
Card. It didn't
because I had to tell you. I'm like, oh yeah, it's up to a gig is a regular one, and then after that there's the XD, and I remember talking about the different formats because I had to get. When you said big SD card and little SD card, you're not talking about the physical presence.
Oh
of
yeah,
it.
Yeah.
You're talking about the actual data
space.
Size that it can hold, because SD cards have different ways that they hold data, and that's how it stays the same size. That's why there's a 256 megabyte card, and now there's a 256 gig card, and they're the same fucking size,
right?
Because it's the way that SD scanned it, writes the data and compresses data and shit.
There's really a 256 gig.
Oh yeah, dude. I have.
Holy shit!
I think I put a 250 in my Switch.
That's crazy. I didn't know that was a thing. I mean, I'm sure I've seen it, but
right. Yeah. No, they get bigger.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's
they get bigger. They get bigger. I put a 256 in my. I think it was a 256 in my 256 gig in my Switch, and I was like, damn, I should have went bigger.
What was it go a terabyte?
They do have terabyte ones now. Yeah, but I think that now jumps into a different format again. I think it goes up to I want to say some companies I think are making 700 gig ones now that are still in the average, but then once you get into the TB, you're talking about a different storage format again and a select electronics that will take them.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But still, even to have that capability, you can put a terabyte on smaller than a dime. And when we started gaming, the memory cards were 8 megabytes.
They were even smaller than that when we actually started gaming, because the PS2 card was an 8 megabyte.
Right.
Which was like double what the PS1 could hold or something like that.
I thought it was always 8. I don't remember ever having a 4.
It's because PlayStation didn't have a number on it, like the OG, like PS1.
Oh, really? So
didn't
it was just
have a size. It was like, here's a memory card. It has
sense.
16 boxes on, or blocks on it, or whatever.
That makes sense. I didn't think about it. Yeah, that does make sense. It's just, here's your memory card.
Right.
Yeah, take your space. Yeah, it was that thing. Here's your blocks.
Yep. And then they went to PS2 and it did start to go by megabytes. Yeah. I think they still had blocks on there because it was backward compatible. So it was weird.
Oh, yes.
But it did start to take up megabytes. Yeah, I don't know. I forget those details because, you know, it's my hobby, but I just forget. Anyways.
Yeah.
Back to the chips, the Lake Master chips. So you said you got a Lowrance unit hooked up to your boat.
My old unit to my little boat is Lowrance. I have a Hummingbird.
Hummingbird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I have the new Hummingbird, and then I have the Lake Map, the premium, which gets you the Smart Strike.
What?
And so not just the Smart Strike, I forget what they call the other thing, but how we're talking about the contours and stuff.
Yeah.
The shading, like it has like multiple colors in the shading.
Oh.
And it actually makes it kind of look like a 3D picture. It kind of helps you imagine what you're looking at a little bit more. And the colors are like blue to like red.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of helps you picture where the deeper spots are, you know? And because when you're looking at all the lines and you're not looking at the numbers the right way,
or you're not in real close because like the way your unit is set up and you're standing fishing or whatever. I get it.
A hole and a hump look exactly the same,
right?
If it's one color, you just have to look at which way the numbers go,
right?
So when you have that color, it helps you kind of differentiate without having to think about it as much. You can just look and be like, oh, there's that's the hump or whatever. I'm at the bottom, I'm at the top, kind of shit. But the Smart Strike is cool. And here's what I was talking about before with like the tips and stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
So, the Smart Strike, you can put in your parameters. You can be like, I'm fishing in fall. It's the middle of the afternoon.
What?
Here's what the fish I want to go for.
No.
And yeah. And then it will highlight different areas on your map.
What?
Yeah, isn't that awesome? And it will highlight different areas on your map.
Shit.
And it says like, here's where you think, you know, here's where it should be good spots for that this time of year, where you're going, what you're doing.
No way, dude.
Yeah. So here's the part.
So fucking cool.
So here's the part that I was going to say, where with the other maps, it's like you're getting information and stuff, but it's still not all like, don't take that as the Bible. Don't be like, this is where it says I need to fish. I need to fish here.
Right.
Because the funnest part for me, because I fish Shamana so much, when I put in the parameters, I wasn't necessarily putting in the parameters. Part of me wanted to be like, show me a spot I didn't know. Show me a spot where you're like, you should try here. And I'd be like, for real?
Right.
There?
Right.
No, not there.
Nah. Could be.
Everything was pretty straightforward, except for like muskies. There was like a couple of spots where I'm just like, oh, really? You think that spot would work? I'll have to try cast over there a couple times, you know, that kind of shit.
Mm-hmm.
But there was other spots where it wasn't highlighted, and I'm like going through the map and I'm like, well, you're not telling them to go there, and I've caught one there, and you didn't tell them to go there, and I've caught one there. You know, it's kind of that shit where I think they're highlighting the most probable areas.
Yeah, there's probably some algorithm that's doing it. It may be not. I'm sure it's somewhat influenced by locals too. Like just like you know, the other physical map places are outsourcing some of that information. I'm sure they are too, but I bet you, because it's so electronic, it's probably some sort of algorithm.
Right. And I'm betting too that it's probably one of those things where they're just telling you straight up, and they could be 100% right. Like if you were able to drain the lake and just see what everything was down there, have ways of just getting a picture.
Mm-hmm.
In those spots that I've caught muskies, maybe I'm the only one that was casting there, and that's why I got that one to bite, because there was only that one there.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe in the other spots that are highlighted, if you could see everything, there's one here, there's one there, and they're not highlighting those areas because they're like, your odds aren't as good. There's only one fish there.
Right.
Hopefully he bites.
Right.
They're talking about these other areas. But some of the spots I fished were a little bit more where I did feel like, this is a long line of weeds. This feels like there should be a fish here, but they didn't highlight that area. So there's some spots where I feel like you kind of missed that one. I do feel like that's a good spot to catch it. Like my biggest muskie, that 50-inch fish that I caught.
Yeah. The
spot I caught it on, not on the map.
Ooh.
But other spots that I've had plenty of them follow up and stuff.
Okay.
Like also, dude, I'm telling you, one time I had a fish hit a lure, because sometimes you have the muskies bite, and I was using a big spinner blade and a spinner bait, a big spinner bait. So like the safety pin style spinner bait. And it had a trailer hook, and there's sometimes where a fish bites and it's just confusing, where you get a hit and it doesn't get any hooks, and you're like, how, dude? You had to bite almost 2 bare hooks. I don't get how you're not hooked up. I'm telling you, that was the biggest fish I've ever seen in real life.
Oh, like you saw it.
And that one hit,
basically.
That one hit, and that one was one of the spots that it had highlighted on there.
Oh, nice.
So the biggest muskie I've ever seen in real life that I didn't catch, I just seen it bite it. I was close enough.
Through the water. Yeah.
And then it rolled, and I was like, did you see the side of that? And I was talking to my dad. He didn't see it. And I'm like, the side of that fish was like that, dude. That thing was massive. So yeah, it's an awesome key or awesome tool.
Yeah.
And when you're going to new lakes, I've been dicking around with that. Just like, I've spent hours just sitting in the boat on the boat lift. Like everybody else, I go fishing, come back, stop, go in for like breakfast or lunch or whatever.
Yep.
Come back out, not quite ready to go back out on the water.
Yep.
And just fucking dicking around, pulling up other lakes. I'm like looking at other lakes on this lake.
So because that's what I was actually going to ask, is like Navionics is just on your phone, right? You can kind of take a look or whatever. You can do this with these hummingbirds and other chips. You can still explore, I guess, without having to be on the water.
Right, exactly.
Nice.
And you can put that card in your computer and stuff, because you can save shit. It's a pretty sophisticated system.
Okay.
Because you can save waypoints and all that other stuff, and you can communicate to different systems. Like I have the N. I forget the exact number. It's like the
N438 or something.
Yeah. Well, it's like the HDSI N or whatever, 7N.
Okay. Sure.
The N stands for networking. So I can hook them to, like, I could hook one in the front to the one that's on like the bow mount to the back, and they can communicate with each other. And I could pull it, like I could save a waypoint on one, and the waypoint would automatically be on the one in the front,
to the other unit. Yeah.
And when you're not on your boat, you can bring them into your the other way to update without doing the SD card, like I was talking about, you can bring the whole unit inside. But the unit I had was up north. I wasn't gonna like take it home and dick around with it. I was just like, I'll just do the SD card thing. But there's a lot of stuff that you can dick around with on the computer too. I'm not gonna get into all that shit, but yeah, it's the the stuff that you can do, the technology has advanced immensely. But those lake map chips are money. They're so nice.
Dude. And what are they like? Are they still about $100 or whatever? I forgot to look at the price.
No, they I think, what does it say right now? I think it's for the premium is $200. I thought,
but I mean, look at all the shit you get. Look what you just said. Like,
I know. I mean, it's
if you're into it, dude, you're into it, and that is like it's worth it.
Yeah,
it's not a ripoff.
It's $200 if getting so the premium, and the weird thing is, well, apparently on Amazon it's $148.97. So if you want it, it's
it seems to be on sale on Amazon right now.
Amazon has it for cheaper. I don't know who's selling that
now,
but
oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh no, you're good. I was just gonna say that the premium gets you those couple of things, and then they have the lake map, just the chip that's not the premium, doesn't have the multiple color capabilities, and it doesn't have the smart strike, and that's $150. So
okay,
$50 more, and then you get those tools. But to me, for an extra $50 to get the smart strike, was worth it.
Yeah.
And then the color thing turned out to be really cool too. I didn't know it was going to be so. I wanted the ability to be able to highlight different areas. Like if I'm being like, I think the fish are shallow, I don't even want to look at anything deep and like set it, like 12, 13 feet is my deepest. So basically I have the color and I can just like ignore anything deeper.
Oh, sweet.
I wanted to be able to do shit like that.
That's cool.
But then when I got the color and I was able to do the contour where it made it look kind of like a 3D image, I was like, that's tight. I'm glad I got that.
Yeah, dude. For sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so one thing that I don't fully understand before we wrap up here is so it seems like Lake Master is probably like the publisher, like the holder of the data, and then these companies are working with them. So if you kind of dedicate yourself to an electronics, and then you buy the chip, right? Because like you got your Hummingbird chip, and it's not like you can just pop it into your phone and the shit's gonna work, or you can put it in your PC and it's just gonna work without a Hummingbird on the boat, right?
Right. Well, yeah, it would be. I mean, I'm sure your Hummingbird chip you'd be able to play with on your computer and stuff, but it'd be pointless. The amount of money you'd spend for that would just
wouldn't be worth it. Silly. Like go buy a Sportsman Connection electronically, right? And just read it on your iPad.
Exactly.
Yeah. I gotcha.
And the two, I mean, what you're dealing with basically is the two different brands are Lake Master and Navionics.
Right. Okay.
So Navionics, I have that app. I don't think Lake Master makes anything like that.
Sure.
But I don't even know
and that. Yeah, it's not a big deal. But you need an electronic on the boat that's going to. Or it's pointless to buy the card without having the electronic to even read it, or to like really do this full display that you're talking about in the first place.
Right. Yeah, and just for people out there too that if you were wondering, I'm sure if you have a unit, you already know about this stuff. But when you're looking at other brands, they're working with like Navionics. Some of them, it depends on who you're going with. Like Hummingbird has Lake Master. It looks like Garmin uses Navionics. So you got some of that other. They work together with different people. So I got the Navionics on my phone,
right?
And I got Lake Maps. I don't discriminate on anything, but I don't think I have the color capabilities at all on my phone. And just on a quick glance, it looks like Navionics has like a Platinum Plus, which I'm sure is a lot of the same kind of stuff for Garmin users, where you're getting all that extra shit.
Right.
But yeah.
Right.
Buying those lake maps the Lake Master chips without having that stuff would just, especially when you have like Navionics available on your phone.
Yep.
Just seems kind of silly.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
There's other,
I got you.
And there's so many different fishing apps out there right now too.
Yeah.
I don't know if they
saw that too.
Yeah.
They just didn't seem to have the amount of detail. It's almost like they were trying to be a Lake Master or a Navionics or something like that, like a more affordable version, we'll say, of those two. And it's just like these other two companies are already gathering so much data that they just seem inadequate almost in a way. And I don't know. I didn't dive into those enough, but I saw what you saw too. Like there's just a lot of options out there, but like the big players in the game already have the data and the format, and it seems like they're really dominating and still staying on top of their shit too. Like they're not just letting being popular get to their head.
Yeah, no, it's basically Navionics and Lake Master are the two that have the market cornered.
For the electronic
I'm just
part.
saying that you might be able to find like a kind of like a hot maps style or a hotspots style shit on one of those fishing apps, where they're like, here's the hotspots. I can't remember the name of it. I was actually looking for it. I just downloaded one that I hadn't got a chance to really look at, so I don't know if I don't want to throw out their name anyways and try to like blow them up, like check it out, because I have no idea if they're good or not.
Right.
But I just saw one that I downloaded where they're talking about using the lake maps and stuff and kind of pointing out different points and stuff, and basically they're giving you a breakdown of where the wind is blowing that day and how the wind is affecting things during that day, kind of using your map and stuff.
Whoa.
So yeah,
that's crazy, dude.
That's a little bit like not necessarily the lake maps, but it is still, because they're like showing you the points and stuff that are like the wind blown points of where
right which we've talked about active so many times on the podcast.
Yeah, and I mean, with a big lake, I can really see how, a bigger lake than the Lake High Fish, I'm talking like if you don't know everywhere, where they're really kind of breaking it down where you're not really thinking about it, you got maybe quarter mile to drive down the shoreline, but they're like, right here is getting wind blown right now. It looks like it's the perfect spot to fish.
That's cool.
Be like, damn, dude, I gotta move down that way. Yeah. So
that's super fucking cool.
I'll look into it and report back.
Yeah. Right. We're going to do more. And there's definitely going to be like an episode where we got to just talk about electronics. I mean, so on that note though, before we give me a quick 2-minute, because we'll do more in a different episode about electronics, but give me the quick 2 minutes of like how these, how lake maps to electronic lake maps are now affecting trolling, because I read about that and how like you can like lock it in or something.
Hell yeah. So if you got, how I was talking about like the different things communicating with each other, you got that networking. It can communicate with your trolling motor too. So your trolling motor uses the GPS and stuff, and you can set a contour line. Like if they're in 10 feet of water or whatever, you can like set waypoints and tell it like go from this waypoint to this waypoint, and it'll drive to that waypoint, and it'll just keep you on path, like with the wind pushing you and stuff. It'll redirect and stuff, or you can just set it on a contour line.
Sick.
Like
a contour line that's drawn there on the map. You're like, here, just stick to the 20 feet and it'll just follow it.
Where it says 10 feet is, and it kind of curves in and goes out and stuff. You can just tell it stay on that 10-foot line, and it'll drive on that 10-foot line.
So it'll just keep going. Like it'll follow the shoreline, and just like for the most part, lakes are like 10 feet at the same. We'll just use it as a smaller lake. It'll basically like run laps around the whole lake at the 10-foot contour line.
Yep.
That's so fucking crazy.
But most
I mean, it's oversimplifying, of course, but like,
right. And
for sake
and like most people, like you have the option of like going back where you were and stuff too. So most people aren't going to go around the whole lake. Right. You know that there's like one shoreline that's being wind blown, and like that's the money spot, and you're liking where it is, or you trolled down and you hit like 3 fish there. You can turn around and go back the other way and just be like, follow the path back that way. Like take the same line that we just did.
Yeah. Sick, dude.
And The new trolling motors are so dope. I don't have one, but that's one of my biggest goals because it's going to make everything easier. Because not only is it trolling along that, but it'll use the GPS to like spot lock. So you can hit spot lock and it'll stay. The wind's blowing you this way, the waves are moving, everything. You're sitting in one spot. Or like, say you want to stay on that contour line, that it'll keep driving along that contour line if you want as you're fighting the fish. But if you don't want to fight a fish while you're trolling past everything else, you hit the spot lock, fight that fish in,
and then it just like anchors you in electronically.
Yeah,
right there,
100%. Yep.
Yeah,
that's and then you hit that
sick, dude.
Yeah, then you hit the continue or whatever, and you keep driving. But yeah, or the people that launch their boats by themselves, the ones that have the auto deploy and stow, you can just like launch the boat, it'll just float out, auto deploy, it'll like put it in the water, and then you just GPS it back to you where you have the remote. It'll drive back to the dock by itself. So sick, dude.
That is so sick. Oh my God. Okay, we got to wrap this up. Otherwise, we can keep going. Obviously, that was crazy amount of maps. We're going to jump into the break here, getting into the random take. We're going to be talking chicken wings. It's been a little bit since we talked about food. So we're going to do chicken wings, partially motivated by the Super Bowl a couple weeks ago or a week ago, however the fuck it was. But this has actually been a topic that I've had written down for a long time. And you'll see why in the next half. So yeah, let's do it. Hit the break.